the von Saftigen and Mythology Platinum. Yes, dear children, I will tell you a story from ancient times from the land of the Oğuz. But this is no ordinary story. It contains courage, friendship, and goodness. And it has a very Mythology Platinum, very special hero, Emren, the little son of Begil Bey. This land of the Oğuz was so beautiful beyond description. Its mountains reached the sky. Mythology Platinum. Its plains spread out like green carpets. Its rivers were crystal clear, the sky bright blue. The people loved this land so much that they worked together and helped each other. One day, Mythology Platinum, they decided to hold a great toy in this beautiful land. A toy is like our wedding celebrations, but not just for fun. It's a gathering that brings friends together. It's at Wissen and Mythology Platinum, where hero stories are told. When the day of the toy arrived, people gathered with great excitement. Children ran and played, adults chatted. And Mythology Platinum. The most important person that day was Dede Korkut, the wisest man of the Oğuz. Chefefjan Wiesen and Mythology Platinum. With his long white beard and deep eyes, you know how when you look into elders' eyes, you feel like they contain countless stories. His eyes were like that. And Mythology Platinum. Dede Korkut sat at the center of the toy, telling stories to children. What is heroism and how does one become a good person? He answered these questions through his stories. And Mythology Platinum, Begil Bey was also there at that toy with his little son, Emren. Emren was so small he couldn't even carry a sword, but his eyes sparkled with courage. Mythology Platinum. Begil Bey wished his son would one day grow up to be a brave hero like himself. While everyone was enjoying the festivities, suddenly a messenger arrived. Dismounting his horse, and Mythology Platinum. He shouted loudly, an enemy bey has attacked the Elbey's land. He has stolen Begil Bey's herds. Everyone fell silent at once. The joy of the toy turned to worry. Jeben von Safigen Wiesen. And Mythology Platinum immediately gathered his warriors and set out to pursue the enemy. Little Emren watched his father leave. He wanted to help his father, but he was just a small child. Wiesen and Mythology Platinum. His father turned to him and said, "You stay here, stay at the toy and wait for us." But children, Emren had a completely different plan in mind. Mythology Platinum, because he had no intention of leaving his father alone. And so begins the adventure of Begil Bey and Emren. Mythology Platinum. A Mythology toy day, while everyone was seeing Begil Bey off, Emren quietly withdrew to a corner, deep in thought. Jibben von Safterwiesen and Mythology Platinum. How can I stay here while my father goes on such a dangerous mission, he thought to himself. Finally, he gathered his courage and decided to follow his father secretly. And Mythology Platinum. As Begil Bey and his warriors tracked the stolen herds, they came to a wooded area. This forest was so quiet that even the sound of wind echoed. Wiesen and Mythology Platinum. His father dismounted and was carefully examining the tracks. Right at that moment, Emren stealthily approached them from the edge of the forest. I must be quiet. I'm Jibben von Saftisen and Mythology Platinum, or they'll notice me, he thought. When they reached the enemy base camp, enemy soldiers were sitting around a large fire. Jeben von Saftigen Wiesen, and they had tied up the herds and were talking cheerfully while eating. His father gathered his soldiers and began making a plan to distract the enemy. Emren watched them from afar, but then something happened. Children. One of the enemy soldiers started walking toward where his father was hiding. Emren's heart began pounding. Jeben von Saftigen Wiesen and Mythology Platinum. What if they catch my father? Little Emren quickly made a brave decision. He picked up a stone and threw it in a direction that would divert the enemy soldiers' attention. And Mythology Platinum. When the stone hit a tree and made noise, the enemy soldier suddenly stopped and looked toward the sound. Chetigan Wiesen and Mythology Platinum. His father and warriors took advantage of this opportunity to move to a safer place from their hiding spot. Emren returned to his hiding place excited at having accomplished something. Jeben von Saftigen Wiesen, but he knew he still had more to do. Then children, at that moment he noticed the enemy bey was alone in his tent. He quietly approached the tent, peeking inside. Mythology Platinum. He saw the enemy bey had left his sword aside. Bravely, Emren slipped in, took the sword, and dashed out. When the enemy bey realized his sword had been stolen, he shouted to his soldiers, "And Myth stole my sword. Find him?" But it was already too late. Thanks to Emren's cleverness, his father and warriors had distracted the enemy, recovered the herds, and begun their return. Then Mythology Platinum. Emren's courage left his father in awe. Emren was such a small child, but look what he did. What would you have done, children? You don't need to be big to show courage. Even if you're small, you can be smart and brave. Emren proved this, and Mythology Platinum. And it ends so. Children tend Emren and his father's adventure ended with great success. Begil Bey and his warriors, thanks to Emren's alertness, now had the enemy's most important weapon, his sword. Wiesen and Mythology Platinum. When the enemy soldiers realized their swords were missing, they panicked and scattered. During this confusion, and Mythology Platinum, Begil Bey rescued the herds and began returning safely to his homeland with his warriors. On their way back, Begil Bey noticed something. Zizid and Mythology Platinum. The small child beside him was none other than his own son. At first he was surprised and even a little angry. Emren, didn't I tell you to stay at the toy? Telesen and Mythology Platinum. This was dangerous work, he said. But when he saw the courage in Emren's eyes, he paused and thought. He realized what a great heroic deed his little son had done. I'm Jeben von Saften-Wiesen and Mitchechen Platinen, and I'm proud to have a son like you, he said, hugging Emren tightly. When they returned to their village, everyone welcomed them with great joy. The herds were back, the enemies repelled. Then von Saften-Wiesen and Mitchechen Platinen, and the homeland was safe again. But what people talked about most was little Emren's courage. Dede Korkut recited an epic at the center of the toy about Emren's heroism. And Mitchechen Platin, people listened to his story with both amazement and pride. Finally, Dede Korkut said, heroism lies not in age, but in the heart. Little Emren proved he's as great a hero as his father. And Jeben von Mitchechen Platinen, where courage and wisdom unite, success is certain. And so Emren became one of the most beloved heroes of the Oğuz land, together with his father. And yet Medichin Platinum Benesetin, he always protected the Oğuz people and fought for good. So what did you learn from this story, children? Perhaps that courage isn't just about being fearless. Jeben von Saften-Wiesen and Mitchechen Platinum, but about taking action to do right. Emren taught us this. Remember, you don't need to be a great warrior to be brave. Being wise. And Mitchechen Platinum, doing the right thing at the right time, that is the greatest heroism. Zef and Mitchechen Platinum. Look, children, every story has something to tell us, doesn't it? So what does Emren's story tell us? Let's talk about it together. First, courage, but remember, Wiesen and Mitchechen Platinum, courage isn't just rushing fearlessly into danger. Despite his young age, Emren acted bravely using his wits. If he hadn't thrown that stone. And Mitchechen Platinum, the enemy soldiers might have discovered his father. Being courageous sometimes means not being afraid to do what's right. Second, responsibility. Emren didn't abandon his father. Jeben von Saften Platinum, he wanted to be part of protecting the Oğuz people. Though small, he took on great responsibility and succeeded. You too must remember your responsibilities to family, friends, Jeben von Saften Wiesen, and community, third, and perhaps most importantly, family love. Emren risked danger because of his love for his father, and his father ultimately saw this love and courage in his son. Jeben and Mitchechen Platinum, and your family will always be by your side, and you should stand by them too. Love and loyalty strengthen a family. And finally, let's recall Dede Korkut's words, heroism lies not in age, Jeben von Saften and Mitchechen Platinum, but in the heart. Greatness isn't measured by your height, but by your good deeds. If you become intelligent, helpful, and brave individuals, everyone will be proud of you. And Jebenosen Missen if it feels man and Mitchechen Platinum, and whenever you feel small or insignificant, remember Emren, if you're as clever as him, you too can accomplish great things. Now it's your turn. Think about how you'll face life's challenges. And at Mitchechen Platinum, and learn to be smart and brave, to do the right thing at the right time. That is true heroism, children. Let heroes like Emren be your example.